I'm Nando. I view movies. You guys know me. We're here. I hope you can hear this. Test, test, test. Can you hear this? Is this coming through? I feel like hold on. Can you hear me? Is this good? Does this sound normal? Does it sound like crappy or does it sound like good like video sound? So I'm trying to figure out how to fix it, but I can't. Not like fix it, but the little the green dots are going. I mean, I could turn it up. Like if it's is this too loud? Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. Sounds worse than videos, right? Yeah. Too loud. Okay. All right. I'm trying to figure out. It doesn't let me. Gain is a little high. Yeah, that makes sense. See, it's weird. Through YouTube natively, I do not know how to change it. But what a day today was. I can't wait to talk to you guys. I have so many things to say, so many thoughts. Um, and yeah, just make do. That's fair. Um, and all right. So if you cannot hear me, or if you can hear me, then that's great. If you don't know me, either way, I'm Nando. Matt is my real name, which is Nando's nickname. It's complicated. My channel is called Nando V Movies. I make videos frequently about either the DC, Marvel, Fox. That's like kind of a thing. Movies and sometimes the comic influences behind them. Sometimes just like what. Let me just get that chat a little bit. Okay, yeah, pop out chat. That's better. Sometimes that. So it's very like um kind of whatever I think is interesting, right? Like what kind of comics I want to talk about, what I'm reading. And a lot of the times that does align with what's happening in the world, right? It's so funny how one of the books that we're going to talk about a little bit is this one. I don't know if this is backwards for you guys, but Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, great, 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 great book by Tom King. Art is phenomenal. It's one of those books that doesn't look like anything else. I'm trying to find a good like one good panel that doesn't quite give it away, but like the color is insane. Yeah, this is a good one. Like this is like stuff like this. If they can manage to pull this off in a movie, this would be like the coolest movie ever. Also, I see the comments. I'm going to try to read them as we go. My name is not John Nando. That would be cool though. I mean, I could change it at some point. If I need to like go into hiding or become an assassin. But okay, so we knew this was coming. I think overall, the announcement for me, all big picture, great. Like, and the state of the cinematic universe that exists right now, great. Like, part of me thinks, and again, this might just be me, but I feel like what they were doing was very hit or miss. And I think the cinematic universe aspect of the old DCEU was not helping it. And clearly, they were having trouble getting someone to drive that bus. And I think what they've got is great in terms of like just starting over. And James Gunn, man, I mean, I've heard stories. I remember when he was doing Guardians, like the first one, doing press for that. I believe he brought, this might not be him, but I think it was him, brought a flyer from his band or something that he performed at a Comic-Con, like not like a big one, but like back in the early days of it, and was like, this is how much I've been in this. And clearly he knows all this stuff, right? Like he has been reading comics his whole life. It's very clear. On top of that, I think he is one of the most consistent filmmakers we have. I'm very like his Marvel movies are consistently the best ones. He's made two and they're both great. Christmas special I really liked. He seems like he's good at everything you want a producer to do, right? And this is live, by the way. Hi everybody. Let's see. Let me like look at a couple of these real quick. We got John Nando. People saying they want Sasha Call as Supergirl. I agree. Thank you to everybody who just finished the Deadpool pitch. I really appreciate that. I'm so glad it's done. I loved it so much. And yeah, it's been I'm incredibly happy with how it came out. And I'm so glad that today they also didn't announce some crazy Deadpool thing that would make the pitch bad. But okay. So the idea that so James Gunn is good at everything you want a producer to do. He can make a movie, obviously, he can direct, he can write. Casting he's excellent at. Obviously, his instincts are really interesting. Like say what you will about Chris Pratt and some of the, like actors and some of his things maybe aren't everybody's favorite people, but they are really excellent representations of versions of those characters. Some maybe more true to the original than others, but in general, like I think you could say characters like Mantis or Drax or maybe Gamora have strayed a little bit from what you kind of expect in the comics. Um, but I think for the most part, it always is in service of the movie, which I think is really important. You know what? I should plug this. And yeah, I just think he's great at that. Seems to be a great actors director. All the actors he works with love him. They like all work with him all the time. He's got that. He's got those guys who just do every single thing that he does. Let me just start. Link below. Okay. And I'm just gonna put this there. All right, and I'm gonna put the link there. Wait, shoot. Okay, hold on. Hello. So everybody, I'm just gonna, here we go. Copy that. And good. Okay. So yeah, I just love James Gunn. I think he's fantastic. I think so. I woke up around noon today. So I was up super late last night finishing up the Deadpool thing. So I was like, I'm gonna take some sleep. Also today's been a weird day because I had to get my like I had to go to the dentist today. So I've been kind of running around. I haven't had a lot of time like just kind of sit down and process this all. But so noon we get this video. I'm glad it was a video too. I was kind of expecting it to be a series of tweets, which wouldn't have been terrible. But I think that helps to kind of personalize it. And also his enthusiasm for these projects comes through over video. Honestly, I wish it was longer. There's some things that he said in interviews that went out in like the Variety article that I'd like to hear him say, like him saying, we got a Superman who believes in truth, justice, and the American way in a world that doesn't know if that makes any sense anymore. Like, I kind of want to hear that come out of his mouth, but just the little bit that we had, I think was perfect. I think one of the things he made that he made sense of that I thought was interesting was when he was talking about the current slate, the 4 movies that are in development or production or something, where he was saying like, hey, we're talking about James Gunn, by the way. Anybody that's just coming in, we're talking James Gunn. Getting that out of the way first. The idea that it's like he's saying like, okay, so here's what we got coming up. We got Shazam, which is its own thing, and like, yes, that is its own thing. And then we've got Flash, which we're really lucky is kind of a movie, and I think everybody knows what the deal might be with Flash. Is it's a Flashpoint movie. I mean, that much we very clearly know. And if you know how the Flashpoint story ends, if this movie ends that way, that is the perfect runway for a new universe. Then you got Blue Beetle, that's kind of its own thing. Agree. Then we got Aquaman, which I'm not quite sure how that fits into the picture. If the Lobo rumors are true, which I kind of believe they are, it feels too right. Maybe he's going to keep doing Lobo. I don't know. But that is interesting. Yeah, no, I agree. House Fancy Condo. I do think he's hedging his bets with Shazam. I think a lot of this comes down to like Blue Beetle, for instance. Let's say that movie comes out and it bombs, everybody hates it, and that's not saying I think that's going to happen because I think that character is great and the team behind it is good. So I think it's got a great shot. But like if that movie bombs, I do think they kind of go, well, all right, no more Blue Beetle movies. We just want to talk about him for a while, and then in 5 years maybe he'll show up again. Or something like Flash, which is the other example, is they say like that is a really good movie. They've just I know they always say this, and they always do say this. They always say like test screenings for Fan Four Stick were very positive. Everyone liked it, but I genuinely have heard this from so many people so many times that this Flash movie is great, and I think it explains why they're still making it. Because if it was bad, they would have scrapped it, I'm sure, because it's so much trouble and they would want to try again. And I think there's really something to it. But the idea, so if that is as good as it seems, um, uh, what was I going to say? I was thinking about that Michael Judge, the Gods and Monsters animated DC movie, the one where Batman's a vampire. It's Batman's a vampire, Superman is a Zod, and Wonder Woman is a Fury, like a from Apocalypse. So that's pretty cool. Oh, thank you, Dustin, for the super chat. We're talking about DC, but I was thinking about a Starjammer show. Would it be cool to have James Marsden as Corsair? Absolutely. Real quick, I think he would be a great Corsair. I think there's a lot of older actors like your Kurt Russells and your older action men that would be a great Corsair. Honestly, the only problem with Corsair is what's the age gap between him and Cyclops and the Summers kids. But I agree. I think that is a solid play. What was I gonna say? Okay, so I think they're in a great place where they can pick and choose. Maybe movies are big hits. Maybe certain characters are big hits from movies, and they go, "Oh, we're going to make that the thing. That's the new guy." I think that's really smart. And so as a way to incorporate the old slate into this new slate, love it. Then we've got the bigger question of like the new stuff. So there's a lot of stuff we don't know. I think there's so many things that we don't know about this new DC universe. My biggest question about the like the Superman and all of that stuff, it really is just the Aquaman connection, because he even said Aquaman's going to lead into Superman. And when I heard that, I was like, that doesn't make sense. That can't be right. But not like that can't be right. But it seems like Aquaman is one of those movies that might be scrubbed, but maybe it won't. I don't know. And we'll see. I saw an interesting thing there. Alex asked, "Do I think James Gunn is being a hype man for the upcoming movies and none of them are relevant?" Like I said, I think it's a very pick and choose. I think as if I'm in James Gunn's position, now I've got coming out a second Shazam movie. Those are fun. So sure, that absolutely. This Flash movie, which everybody says is good, and I'm sure he can watch right now. Like he's probably got a print of it, so he knows what it's like. Blue Beetle, which is has so much potential and is a character that everybody loves. And then also you get over my other shoulder, you got Ted Kord Booster Gold action figures. So that's great. And then so like that's something that a comic fan like James, I think, would be like, I've always wanted to see that. And then Aquaman 2 with big, cool helmet and like real awesome suit Black Manta, I'm so excited about. Oh, thank you, Jamie. What do I think about the timeline? A young Superman, but Bruce already knows about Damian. That's a good question. So we know that's actually a really good question. So let's talk about some of these movies real quick. I'm going to get over the ones that we don't know too much about, but I think some of them could be awesome. This, whatever it's called, this Commandos thing. What was it? Creature Commandos, which is kind of like the Monster Squad or Howling Commandos in DC or Marvel. They're monsters, I guess, that do superhero stuff. Animated, the animation looks cool. I think more superhero stuff should do animation. There are too many things where you're watching something and you're kind of like, this doesn't really look like you're watching like Civil War. And you're like, this looks great for live action, but they want to do more. They want to do a crazier special effects budget with more characters, and they just can't because there's limitations. And then you watch things like Invincible, and you're like, that's it. That's what all of this should be. So I think the idea of bringing people in and out of animation is genius. So yeah, that's the question. Bronston brought that up, and to answer Jamie's question, we have a Superman that's younger than Cavill, but not. I don't necessarily know what that means. Younger than Batman. The problem with comic Batman is and all of the comic characters, he always has this weird sliding age scale where he's 30, and comic Superman is always also 30 or whatever the age is, but like. The timeline never makes sense. Obviously, these guys don't age unless it's an Elseworld story. And if that's the case, that would be cool. But it does seem like these guys will be like their own thing. Jasmine makes a good point. I think someone asked this. Someone suggested maybe Superman just ages slower because he's a powerful alien. I think that's a good idea. But like, yeah. So let's play out the timeline here a little bit. Bruce trains with League of Shadows when he's 15. Let's say like that's as early as I think would make sense for maybe 4 or 5 years. Has a kid or has sex with Talia sometime in his early 20s, late teens, but like that's how old she is, so it's fine. And then 10 years passes and he's 30. Like, I think that's acceptable. I feel like that's what we'll end up as 30-year-old Batman. And then I think we'll end up with about a 25-year-old Superman. And I think that makes the dynamic really interesting because, ooh, Dennis, that's a good point. If the Bat family is established, well, but you could run through a Nightwing at 5 years, Jason in and out immediately. Tim is the Batman now. Like, I think that makes sense. But oh, thank you, Crispy Wontons. Let me see that comment because this is a good one. Still talking about Creature Commandos, which is important. I'm a little worried that Creature Commandos and the Authority could feel like Guardians and the Suicide Squad too much. I don't know the characters, but it has that aesthetic. Super excited for Damian Wayne just because Ninja Robin. Damian Wayne is going to be fun. He's never been my favorite, but the more I had to research him for this video, the more I was like, he's pretty good. Not like this video, but the one I did before. The Creature Commandos and the Authority. So Creature Commandos could kind of be anything. I don't know too much about it either, but I think as a pitch, it's very broad. Some sort of superhero team made of monsters, but not like Justice League Dark, like, you know, Universal movie monsters. I think that could be anything. Authority is different. And the way he explained it, so I don't know too much about the Wildstorm universe. However, I know what they've done recently. I've read all of the recent Midnighter and Apollo comics. They're the two characters that made it out of that universe and made the most sense and like have become the most popular. But the way James Gunn described it, I want to say this was in the Vanity Fair interview, was that it's going to be something that is they're much like Hyperion in the Supreme, not Supreme Power, Squadron. Well, kind of like Supreme Power, but like Squadron Supreme. Honestly, kind of like the boys, but probably not as harsh. But they are characters, like they're superheroes who do the like they do the, oh, we should be a totalitarian police force thing, which I think is very cool. But like I think it's a good idea in a vacuum. I think we've done a lot of movies where the characters have that as like a fear, but I don't think we've ever gamed it out in the movie. Like we haven't done a Marvel movie where Tony Stark becomes, you know, an actual tyrant or something like that. We haven't done that with Superman. We've had a lot of times where someone has a vision of Superman doing that, or, you know, talks about how that's possible, but we haven't seen it. In that universe, the two characters that matter, and thank you for the Fred and Peter. So it's sad about that being stuck in an airport for so long. But yeah, well, hopefully this will get you through it. And I see your question, Peter. I'm going to hold on to that because that's a good one. But so the two characters that make it out of that are Midnighter and Apollo, right? Here's my guess at what that movie is. Or there's two ways it can go. If it is before Superman, I think you could do a movie where you see the rise and kind of fall of the Authority, or just the rise of the Authority. But like a character follow Midnighter maybe, who is essentially, there's more to it than this, but he's Batman who is kind of Phantom X. I think I've heard the creator say that he's a Phantom X type, where he has a computer in his brain, this fight computer that lets him win every fight, see every outcome, kind of like Karnak from the Inhumans show that didn't exist. He's way more murdery and like just, you know, graphic and, you know, slam a head into a thing. So it's honestly like, you know, John Wick type kind of character, but fights with his fists. Also, he's gay, and then in a relationship with Apollo, who is the Superman of that universe, who I don't know as much about his background. Like he's sun-powered. It's kind of vague. It's fine. And like I think their relationship is interesting because Apollo is Superman, whereas Midnighter is a harsher Batman. So that relationship is tricky. And in the beginning, when I was introduced to this concept, I was like, oh, okay, we're doing what if they had sex. Very good. Like that's been, you know, I'm sure there's never been fan fiction written about this, but the more you get into the actual stories about these characters, the more it's like, no, it really is about a Superman who's like, I love this Batman guy, but he's a lunatic and I can't do anything with that. Like, so I'm betting there's an Authority movie where those characters plus their Aquaman and their, you know, they've got a bunch of them too. There's like, I want to say a Doctor Strange in there, or like a Dr. Fate analog, I guess, but I think he skews closer to Strange. I'm sure they're Flash. They all set up a superhero government police state thing and then Midnighter and Apollo maybe rebel or split from it. Now, people have suggested that perhaps this Superman movie is Superman fighting these guys. I think that's totally possible because recently Grant Morrison wrote a book called Superman and the Authority, or Superman can't be does the Authority, but it's the idea that Superman takes a bunch of reformed villains or just like heroes that don't really have anything specific going on, starting with Manchester Black, who is, I think, just in jail at this time. And he's like, I might die. I'm definitely, something's up with me. I need you guys to figure out a way to fill my void. So he gets like a speedster, light ray, I think. Midnighter and Apollo are in that. Manchester Black, Steel's daughter, and then an OMAC, I think, is the other one. Or Steel's niece, Natasha. And they form this really ragtag kind of like Suicide Squad-y supergroup. I could see a version of this movie where the Authority exists in Superman. Origin? No. What was it? Legacy. Superman beats them. And because James Gunn has been sharing a lot of stuff about Kingdom Come. He shared a picture of Kingdom Come. For people that don't know, that was a story about it was this, I mean, it's gorgeous. If you've never seen it, read it. I think I have it here somewhere. I must, right? I don't know. The thing with comics is like you buy them and then you just loan them out to people and then you don't have them. So you never know which comics you actually have at any given time. But the Authority, I think, let me see. Hold on, so give me 1 second. I just have to respond to an email or a text, excuse me. But okay, so what we know so far, kind of, is or what I think you could do is Kingdom Come is about a Superman who is retired and a new crop of more severe superheroes exists. Now, you could say, let's, instead of whatever they're called in Kingdom Come, have them be the Authority. Have the Authority show up and then try to, be the new law in town. And Superman's like, I hate you guys. You're bad. He does what's so funny about Truth, Justice, and the American Way. Then he grabs Manchester Black and, Midnighter and Apollo. And he's like, hey, you guys are, well, maybe just Midnighter and Apollo. And he goes, hey, you guys are cool. The rest of those guys suck. You should make a new Authority and I'll help you with that. So it would be a Superman and the Authority movie that comes after Superman in the wake of this team. I could see that. I could see something like that being the playbook, and a way to, because they are a good foil for Superman because he's fought that group so many times, like either the Elite or like Magog and was Magog in charge of him? I don't remember who is. I feel like in Kingdom Come, it's just a bunch of guys flying around with random powers. I don't know if there's like an organization. But I think that could be how you blend Kingdom Come, What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, the American Way, the Wildstorm characters, and Superman into two movies that play off each other and I think really work. Okay, so other questions. I saw the other things that I want to address. Peter asked, what are the odds that Batman 3 just doesn't happen now? So I remember I saw Zaslav in an interview just say it was really profitable. We liked it. We're going to keep making them. I think with movies like the Batman 3, and someone asked about Keanu, and that's a really good question, is what do you do with these movies that like aren't adding to the universe? And I think it's all just down to like, if people will pay, like if we can make $100 million off of this Keanu Reeves led Constantine movie, we'll make a second and third and fourth one. Like, and maybe we will connect it to the universe eventually, the same way that's all the Spider-Man are in Marvel now. The Batman is trickier, but I do think that project is so popular and makes them so much money and is getting them like Oscar nominations for things that I can't imagine they're not going to continue with Batman 3. I think the thing with that has always been there's a lifespan on that movie. A lot of it is dictated by Robert Pattinson and how much time he's willing to dedicate to this. So I think 3 movies is probably what we'll get, and that will be enough. but not because they don't want to do it or because it isn't making money, because they just decided, like, you know what, that's the story is over. This is how much Robert signed out for. It's how much Matt Reeves signed on for, and we're going to be done. I think that's really smart. Other comments. Thank you, Sam. Love the content. I'm so happy for all the recent. Thank you. I'm happy with the Nando Cut videos too. My one thing that I want to do differently about them is maybe fix this uploading schedule a little bit so it's a little bit more consistent. A lot of the time it is just like, I saw an interesting tweet, I can do a little Nando Cut thing about that. And it's not as like, there's definitely going to be one every week, but we'll see. That may change. Fred asked, am I going to make a Nando Cut video about this announcement or only the stream? I'm not sure how I'm going to do what videos this is going to turn into. I feel like I will probably do a Nando Cut video about the announcement, maybe just like ranking them in order of ones I'm most to least excited about or something like that. But this will be different. We will get more information. And so, yeah, thank you, Fred. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so that's Superman and Authority. That's kind of my guess with that. I think it will be a young-ish Superman, but not an old, like, so I think that Superman will be in his late 20s, early 30s. I think that's where we'll get a Lex Luthor and all of those supporting characters. I also think we'll get a Steel. I really do. I think if you're looking at low-hanging fruit, just like characters who are easy to translate to screen, that have not been in a movie, that people will like, Steel is Iron Man. Everybody likes Iron Man, but he has a big hammer, just like Thor. Everybody likes Thor. Like, there's not, I don't know. There's a lot of characters like that. Zatanna's another one where it's just like, would you guys just like, did your Zatanna book get lost under the couch and you forgot that she's a stage magician who does Doctor Strange magic and is fun and awesome? Like, it's such a popular thing. But and someone says, Dallas Scott, that's true. Steel has been in a movie. And that is the what was I gonna say? That is a thing that is like very everybody remembers it. We all talk about it all the time. It was really hard to find a good trailer for it. I did watch it though when I was a kid. I haven't watched it since. I know there's a bit at the end where the lady who's his Barbara Gordon type figure, like his woman in a chair who is also in a wheelchair, I believe, as part of the events of the movie, he gives her like a wheelchair that can stand up. But it's so awkward. It's such an awkward ending for that movie. Don't watch it. But yes, absolutely. I love Shaq Diesel, all that stuff. Shaq Fu, big Shaq fan. If you grew up in the 90s like I did, you can't not be. More stuff. Okay. So we got Waller. I have no idea what this is. If there's a project that Mr. Terrific fits into, it's probably this. I don't love the idea of a Waller origin show or movie or anything, just because I think she's great. I think Viola Davis is great. I think her surrounding character, like the cast around her, is fine. But I always find she's a character like Han Solo or Boba Fett, or there's a lot of them, where the mystery is a big part of her power, right? And like, the more I know about her, the less I need to know. Someone was saying that it's not an origin set between seasons 1 and 2. Okay, that makes more sense. I guess I mean like a Waller centered, and I understand like they didn't want to make it Peacemaker. They wanted to pick a character that they could probably brand a show around. So they went Waller. That's someone people know. She's been in like 15 of these, so let's do that. But again, I think she's a character that works for me based on the mystery. So as long as she isn't the main character, but maybe we're in her orbit. Like, I think they just could have called the show Argus, and that would have been what I want. Or Checkmate. Yeah, exactly. But I think they'll do it. I think that's what that season will come from. But I also think we'll get characters like Mr. Terrific or whatever, just like kind of it introduced through that show. I think that's a good vehicle for introducing some of these like street level heroes. So someone asked, Jaspin asked, isn't Waller an unofficial, not Peacemaker season 2? It is, but we are getting a Peacemaker season 2. So this does feel like it's probably a bridge. Like, I don't know if John Cena's in this, but we'll see. All right. So we got Yeah, that's true. It's probably like what book Boba Fett was, if hopefully it's good, but like it's that kind of thing where the characters show up, Peacemaker will show up having completed his character arc, so that we don't have to watch it happen in his second season of his actual show. So we confuse everyone who doesn't watch Waller, and then it like is connected. So those are okay. So those are some of them. Let's look at the others. I don't have too much to say about Booster Gold. Obviously, again, he's another one over my shoulder over here, out of focus, who I love. Like, there's a million different things they can do with him, but I think that project might be the furthest off timeline-wise from what we understand, and that could go in a lot of different ways. I'm excited. I don't have an idea for casting necessarily or anything like that, but I do think it's obviously gonna be great. But it's not as big of a mystery as, say, Amazons, right? Like that one, and it's called Paradise Lost, right? This feels like I remember there were rumors years and years and years ago that we were going to get some sort of HBO like Max Amazon show. Some of the projects in this feel like remnants of that. Waller kind of feels like that. I remember that's a rumor that's been kicking around for a while. This and the Lanterns, but not to say that they're bad, but it's just like I feel like we've all had a little time to like think about what we want from there. It doesn't seem like this will have Wonder Woman in it, so you don't have to recast Gal. You don't have to do any of that. I think that's fine. And Cody, thank you so much. I saw your chat. We will get to Matt Reeves and Damian. A short answer, yes. I think with Damian Wayne confirmed, do we think we'll get a Robin and Matt Reeves Batman films? I think we could. I don't think it's out of the question because since we're not doing Nightwing Robin, I could see a Robin origin here. I could also see them going in a different direction with Robin, like doing Cassandra instead in the Matt Reeves films and having her be the first one of these that kind of pops up and he has to raise. If because we're going to have already gone through Dick and Jason in the Brave and Bold movie continuity. I don't know if Tim's going to be in there and then they find, because that's how Damien shows up and he like beats Tim to death pretty much. I don't know if they're going to do that story, but I would imagine he's probably in play. But like a younger Dick Grayson story, I think is totally doable within the Matt Reeves version. What else was I going to say? Okay, so Amazons. I've read a fair amount of Wonder Woman comics. The Amazon lore is interesting because there's 3 different tribes of like different women. There's the Amazons, obviously. I think they're called like the Bala Migdal or something, and that's where Nubia is from. Separate group, although she usually is part of the Amazons and lives with them. And then you have the new ones that Yara Flor is in that are, I believe, like South American, Brazilian, something like that. Amazons. I mean, they're not Amazons, but there's like the 3 of them all exist in like, like there's the 3 kinds of guys. Like I was like, there's the men and the elves and the dwarves. Like they're different groups. They know about each other sometimes they don't. Sometimes they fight. Sometimes characters will cross over. I hope that's the way he said Game of Thrones style. There's something about me that just I don't really care about Game of Thrones anymore. But like swords and sorcery and like stuff like that is cool. I think it's going to be very Greek. I'm not like Greek, but I think like the Cersei's got to be the villain of the first season or something, right? It's going to be some story about like an evil witch from beyond the evil door that exists that they can't open because it's too much evil is influencing some of the different Amazon characters. How big is the mascara? It's on the smaller side. I would say like it's smaller than like Sicily, but it's probably around that big. But there's never that many Amazons. Like there's plenty of times where we've seen all the Amazons and it's like 300-400. So I don't know. That could be either. Authority, Jenny Quick. Oh yeah, that's right. That's who she is. Everybody has that door. They're just too much evil, and you like everybody's got to watch it, and you're on door duty, and then you like check your phone, and then the door's open, and then the Minotaur is killing everybody or something like that. That's kind of the gist of the story. But I do think we're gonna backfill like the Amazon lore with some of these Greek mythology creatures people are familiar with: Medusa, Circe, the Minotaur. And I think that's a way to like have them almost have it like Shang-Chi, where it's like, they're called the Esquecidas. Yes, that's right. And it's exactly, it's like the Shang-Chi door, Marin. And so I expect that will be their deal, is they are on that island protecting that door, and it opens and things happen. Kiss Paradise Lost also, I mean, it's not the same story, but it reminds me of stories like Pandora's Box or something like that, which is another kind of like, you know, fairy tale of antiquity where there's some door that shouldn't be opened. Alberto, will I make this available to watch later? Maybe, if that's an option. I'm honestly not sure if it's going to happen, but like if that's an option. But if it is, then I will. What else? Do I think Wonder Woman will be in it? No, I imagine the main character will be either Nubia. So like look up these guys, I guess. Nubia or Artemis. There's other characters that it could be, and it could be Hippolyta's the main character. The reason I think it's one of those two is I think those are the characters that could move it into, like, you could use this as an origin for Artemis or an origin for Nubia, and then at the end of the show, or just years and years later, have them come to the like what was I going to say? Have them come to the like main DC universe and just join up and do like the Outsiders or something, and then they're on that, like Artemis usually is. Is it Outsiders? No, Outlaws. Wait, I don't remember. The one with her and Bizarro and Red Hood. Antiope, that's true. I guess I'm thinking a younger, like new kind of. Basically, what I'm getting at here is Nubia and Artemis are the two characters, besides ones that are like younger versions of her, that have been exactly. So it's Outlaws or Outsiders. It's easy to make the mistake, but you're right, it is Outlaws. They're the two characters that aren't younger than her, so not Cassie, not Donna, that have been introduced as, hey, remember Wonder Woman? This one's like that. Same age, same problems, similar vibe, but it's not that same character. So it's like a reboot of her. I could see that being the deal here, just because maybe they don't want to do Wonder Woman again, and they want a character who's like, well, Nubia, and that's pretty similar. I can see that. But yeah, they are the Outlaws. I like that run. And I like the other one. The original Outlaws is fun. Speedy, Red Hood, and Starfire. But yeah, Funko Trial, I agree. If I was betting, I would also bet on Nubia. The only reason I like Artemis is I just love that good axe. She's got a big axe, and it's such a fun weapon. Unlimited range. If you're just getting here, for people that are just getting here, James Gunn this morning talked about all the DC movies a little bit and shows. So this is what we're just kind of going through them, getting an idea for what we think they are. Which great segue, JJL. What do I think about Lanterns? So Lanterns is the other holdover from the original DC like universe pitch thing. This has always been sitting there, is some sort of Green Lantern anthology something. We even had casting with the guy from White Lotus, I think. Or maybe not him. There's two actors. There's the White Lotus guy, and then there's the guy from Big Short who hangs out with Brad Pitt and the kid. And those two guys, one of them was going to play Guy Gardner. They were cast. And this obviously hasn't gone anywhere. Finn Whitrock, that's it. Oh, wait, he was Alan Scott? I thought he was Guy Gardner. I'm pretty sure, he's Guy Gardner. He's got that energy, like kind of that doofy, jerky energy. And I'm not saying it's not different, but it's the one that I think we as comic fans have had the most time to think about and go, what do we want? Like, what's the ideal way to do a show about the Green Lanterns? Jeremy Irvine. Oh, interesting. I didn't realize they had cast in Alan Scott. Let me Google him. Jeremy Irvine. Oh, okay. It's a young Alan Scott, but maybe. Oh, from Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. Well, now we're talking. Who was he in that? I like Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. He was. I mean, I'm assuming he's a younger version of one of the hunks, one of the guys, and then Sam, and then I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yes, I think the idea this is the one that based on the pitch, well, JJL, yeah, Guy Gardner personality is hard to get well, but he could do it. I agree. And I think, wait, so Egan McFarlane, which one is Sam? Is that one of the dudes or is that her husband that shows up at the end? This is a Mamma Mia 2 thing now. If you haven't seen it, I think it's a good time. Mamma Mia 2. Mamma Mia 1, not so much. Anyway, he's one of the dads. Okay, cool. I believe that. Oh yeah, and Dark Dingo, the Justice League and the Authority are not one-to-one. It isn't as much as the Squadron Supreme is clearly a ripoff of the Justice League, but they are those kind of characters where they're pastiches like Midnight or an Apollo, where you look at them and you go, oh, I see what they're going for with this guy. Yeah, so it seems like, and that's another thing we haven't really talked about Chance O'Toole, which is, I think that's a good kind of spin here. My favorite thing about this announcement, as a fan of James Gunn and a fan of all these characters, was how much he talked about the comics. How much it was like this, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It's really good. We're gonna make a movie. We're taking the Grant Morrison, Batman and Son story, and we're gonna make a movie. Young Pierce Brosnan. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. And yeah, so I'm not a humongous. I haven't read all of the Green Lantern comics. I've heard the Jeff Johns one is like the best run, but it's very long. Honestly, most of my exposure to Green Lanterns is through teams like JLI or the Justice League or whatever team ups they're doing. So that's a great point. Comet Punch. It is just called Lanterns, so we could have blue and red show up. Now I did watch some of the show, the like 3D cartoon, whatever we're calling that. The only thing is the way that James described this one was pretty specific, saying the idea that it's about the Green Lanterns on Earth patrolling Earth feels like you still could have the Red Lanterns and Atrocitus and all those guys be the problem, but it feels like it'll probably not be them. Like I would love it if it was more spacey, and maybe it'll be that in the future. But I guess it's like, if your bad guy is Sinestro, why would it be? Why would that be set on Earth as opposed to on some other planet that's like Earth but is not, like you do in Star Wars all the time? And I'm not sure. This is a question I'm trying to think of some terrestrial Green Lantern villains, because I guess the thing with Green Lantern is like, well, obviously it would be this guy because he's a Green Lantern villain. Like, why in this story, why isn't Superman getting involved, right? Why isn't Batman getting involved? So you got like Black Hand, Dr. Polaris, Solomon Grundy, Carol Ferris. You know what? Carol Ferris is probably in there somewhere. I could see them doing this. Yeah, that's true. That Fancy Condo. Batman is busy raising a child. He's got Coco Melon on the background or something. Yeah, I think Star Sapphire would work. Oh, that's a good idea, Ryan. A murdered guardian is found on Earth. So, like, I don't want it to be Alan Scott, but like he's the easiest one. But yeah, no, you could do, like, you'd want one of these where you already had the Abin Sur thing happen. So I don't know, take Chip or something. No, you can't kill the squirrel. One of the lanterns, and just have them turn up on Earth, and then all the other lanterns are forced to go investigate it. I think that makes a lot of sense. Dexstar. Oh man, I mean, there are a lot of fun ones you could do. I think they will probably do some of the emotional spectrum. I think that makes sense. I think we'll get a Star Sapphire, the 3 big Green Lanterns, and maybe Kyle even, and then some Red Lanterns. That's my guess for that first season. I think if they want to expand it, then you do Blue and Indigo and Orange as your next season. And Sinestro is just always kind of in the background. I don't think he can be responsible for this, but like this first season. But I also don't think we can do the fall of Sinestro. We've already seen that. So yeah, it's tricky. But so Kyle's always the one. He's my fourth Lantern. If I'm making a list of ones I think will be in this. So it's Hal, John, Guy, Kyle. I like Kyle enough. I don't think he's necessary in a story like this, in the same way that, like, honestly, to me, having Hal is the part that I find the most strange, because I think you could do a really good job with this. Oh yeah, and I mean, there's Jessica and there's other ones. Baz, the new one whose name I can never remember. My only thing there is, like, I kind of want. I would rather have John and Guy being a buddy cop team, because they are the two that would have the most friction. And like, so I could see it being those two and Hal, and then like Hal goes and does his own thing and deals with Star Sapphire because he's still a disaster. Or maybe Jessica, maybe he's mentoring her. That's not a bad idea. And then those other two, because I just think that John and um Bullcut Man are the best two. I think the most dynamic two. Guy and Lobo would be fun. Yeah, that would be fun. Thoughts on Saffron saying Batman was unwatchable, or Batgirl? I mean, maybe it was. I don't know. I do think if it was good, like, I'm not saying I think it was bad, but I think the fact that they didn't show it is to say something. Like, sometimes these movies are not good. That happens all the time, actually. So I think there were probably some parts of it that worked, but yeah, I understand, and I think they could throw Batgirl. So I think we've gotten through everybody except Batman, the best one. So let's talk about Batman real quick. I think. Sorry, real quick. Just want to see. Okay, cool. I had a nightmare when they made Booster Gold a teenager for the Jamie Blue Beetle movie. I mean, that would work. Oh, Swamp Thing. You're right. Sorry about that, grape juice. Yeah, I don't really like. So there's a recent Swamp Thing run. There's two Swamp Thing runs that are the two. There's the Rom V one, which is like the current one, not current, because I don't think it's not. I don't think it's still going. So I feel like he's got a lot on his plate. But that's the recent one, and then you've got the Alan Moore Swamp Thing run. Part of me thinks. So part of this was like, this is Gods and Monsters, right? And these are one of our monsters. I would love to see it as pure horror, like, but I never watched the show, but I heard that was great, a really solid representation. And I hope it is rated R. I think and I think a lot of these projects, if they need to be, would be. But I guess part of me with Swamp Thing is like, is this the backdoor Justice League Dark movie? Like, do you get Guillermo del Toro to make a Swamp Thing movie and also say, by the way, the main character is going to be Dead Man or something, and we're going to make a second one of these, and that's Justice League Dark. Like, that just feels right. Because I don't think you can do that with Keanu, and I doubt you work Keanu into these. But yeah, I'm curious about that myself. But yeah, my money is on, and my money being nothing and having no information. There was a while where Guillermo del Toro Justice League Dark story was in development. It just seemed like it was going to happen, and it never did. This feels like that. Like, this is, I would say Swamp Thing is probably the character out of all of these that is the most Guillermo del Toro-y. So I think that's probably what we'll get. Last one. Okay. Maybe the villain is the creature Commandos. Oh, that's true. That would be interesting. He does love his little freaks. That's right. My thoughts on Killer Moth as the bad guy for Batman 2 Fancy Pants. I'm fine with it. I like Killer Moth. In fact, I really like Killer Moth. I think Killer Moth is cool. I like the idea of, because Killer Moth, for people that don't know, is a Batman villain in the comics. He's one of 4 or 5 guys who's like Batman, but different, right? Like Prometheus is that. Catman is that. But Killer Moth was like, I can do Killer Moth and make that like Batman. I'll get a car that's just like his. I'll get sidekick. I'll get a suit, and you can hire me to do stuff. Like the criminals can hire me to help them. And I think that's fun. I like anybody that looks at the Gotham City like world and goes, how can I make money off that? Like how the Eraser did that, where he was like, the criminals will hire me and I will erase the crime scene. I think that's great. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's so many great villains that movie could take. I like my Hugo Strange idea a lot, but honestly, every pitch I've seen for it, or every idea of like Mad Hatter or Mr. Freeze, I do like. And the more I watch that movie, the more I'm like, that's just such a good one. Um, oh, Edward, that's true. Killer Moth is important to Batgirl's origin because he kidnaps Bruce and Dick. So that is cool. Yeah, the guy in Batgirl was Firefly, but it's different, but it's similar, obviously, and you could work it into the other one. But like, Killer Moth is a professional, whereas Firefly is an arsonist. Whereas Killer Moth, like, he just figured out that this is a job you can do in Gotham City. And I think that's great. He also has not an insane name. Well, I guess sometimes he turns into a moth, which I also love. There's a goon in Batgirl who would be killed by. Oh, that's interesting. If that's true, I don't know. Cameron Von Clear. Yeah, exactly. Like so much fun. Who's the other one? The other one that I was thinking of is Black Mask, who does Batman for Mob. And I know just like he doesn't seem like Batman, but he is another rich boy from Gotham who knew Bruce Wayne and is just like sees Batman and goes, yeah, I'm going to put on a mask. That's something that's valuable, and uses that to take over the, organized crime. So he's my other one. All right, Menti just got here. What are we talking about specifically? We're talking about all of the DC movies, and we're just at the last one. And also, real quick, he said two and two every year. 2 movies, 2 shows. Fantastic. I think that's what Marvel's gonna zero in on soon. Maybe 3 and 3, but something like that makes sense. I hope. I guess my hope is that. I guess my hope is that they keep this pretty consistent, and it is consistent, where we can expect X amount of Marvel movies, X amount of DC movies, and it's whatever that studio is able to do. I'm glad that Marvel seems to be delaying projects now, because they need to sometimes. Like, of course they're going to need to, and yeah. I'm happy with that kind of less is more approach. Also, thank you, Fry Minis and Arlen Jenkins. So Fry Minis ask, longtime fan, thanks for all the great videos. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on the Dungeons and Dragons movie. I can't wait as well. Any thoughts on upcoming phase idea to follow Gods and Monsters? That's a great question. I mean, Gods and Monsters is such a, like, I think the phase that follows this will be characters like a lot of you guys named in the thing: Plastic Man, Zatanna, Flash, Green Arrow. I don't want to say they'd call it, like, I don't know, like the streets in the sky or something, but I feel like it'll be something like that, where we'll focus more on some of these street level heroes that are relatable and fun, like street magic, maybe. Because I also think you're going to do like Zatanna, Dr. Fate, some of the more Entrigan magical characters. So that's my guess, but I don't know. Arlen Jenkins, thank you so much. Did you watch Gotham? If so, what did you think of Jeremiah of Alaska? I did not watch Gotham. I know of Jeremiah. Like, I've watched some of Gotham because I needed to become familiar with it for video stuff. And specifically, Jeremiah is the one that's the guy, right? That's the fake Joker kind of. Let me just Google it. Jeremiah Valeska. Yeah, I liked him. He's great. I'm playing the Jedi. I've just finished the Star Wars game, which just got delayed to April. Bad news for anybody that wanted to play it. But again, delaying things is good. I think it's probably the scene. Okay, so I remember the scene with him where he does Russian roulette to himself. That's great. One of the best Joker scenes, I think. And yeah. It's just really good. I do think he's cool, and I hope that at least that actor gets to be in the Star Wars movies. Um, thank you, Robert, uh, for that donation as well. Or donation, I don't know, super chat, whatever we're calling them. Age of Heroes, yeah, Age of Man. That's not bad. World's a Stage, yeah, something like that. Like Magic and Street Level, I think is what we'll get. Go Birds, Thomas. I agree. I'm very worried. I'm seeing so many of the same things we saw with the Phillies last year. And it's like people are celebrating, everyone's getting excited. I could see us getting stomped out. So I'm not, fingers crossed, but we'll see. Fix It asked, hey Nando, huge fan. Little bummed they're skipping some Robins. Think they might do prequel to cartoon movies to tell those stories. Yes, I do. This is actually something that I think is worth getting into a little bit. I think even though we're skipping Nightwing's origin, I do think in phase 2 we might do a Nightwing and the Teen Titans show or movie. And if we have to, animating it makes sense because then we want that actor to be younger. But I do think that makes sense as a way to build backwards. Because if they want to start with Damian and let's do Batman now, I think that's fine. He's not my favorite one, but it's a story that's good. People like it. And I think he's fun in Super Sons. I just think he's one of those characters that takes a while to work out. But Damian for me, so if we're doing him, then yeah, I expect Tim to have a presence in that movie. Let's say Tim and Barbara. I think Nightwing's doing his own thing. Jason is currently dead, and Cassandra doesn't exist yet. And Stephanie is a girl Tim's dating, and he doesn't realize this is a supervillain yet. It'll be chapter 2. Will be Streets Ahead. That's it. But so I guess for me, what I'm thinking is Owen said it's very likely he thinks Damian will be the first Robin for this Batman. I don't think that's possible. I think Damian has to fall into that role as here's a kid, and Batman's like, oh, I guess you're Robin then, because that's the only thing I know. But yeah, they did say it's got extra Bat Family members. And I think it will be. I think Superman Legacy takes place at the same time. I think most of these take place at the same time as each other, in real time, unless they are like the Amazon one set in the past. But so if we do the Nightwing or the Batman and Damian story, I think we'll get a 30-year-old Batman, a 10-year-old Nightwing, 10-year-old Damian, and the 20-year-old Nightwing, maybe. It's such a gap, though. I want a 40-year-old Batman, but I just don't think it works because I want Batman and Superman to be around the same age. It's tough. It's really tough. Nick. Oh, hey, Nick. Nick said, if Warner Brothers is smart, they release old movies like Superman 78 with restored scenes like commentaries. Even Schumacher cut a Batman Forever. Oh, that would be fun under the Elseworlds banner. Yeah, I mean, they've talked about the Ayer cut, and at this point, why not? It's money you're throwing away by not using, and it might be fun or better. I think Snyder Cut was just such a specific project that you can't really take anything from that. You can't learn a lesson because nothing's going to work the same way Snyder Cut did. But I do think that would be cool. So yeah, I'm betting we'll get the story where Damian shows up. It's the League of Shadows story. And then I think in phase 2, Streets Ahead, we'll get a Nightwing solo movie. I don't think Nightwing will be in this just because I think we'll want to kind of keep the circle small. So like I said, Batgirl, Tim, Damian, Batman, Alfred. Those are your 5 and maybe the Cow. Those are the 5 ones that I think I could see. Yeah, mid-30s, I could see that. But Nightwing versus Deathstroke, that would be fun. But yeah, the problem is the Batman timeline just doesn't make sense. I think Jason has to have already died for a story like this to work because That has to be something that's always in the back of Batman's head. And I think Nightwing needs to be a success for this to work, because then that also has to be in the back of Batman's head. Like, is this something that does the Robin program make sense? Am I going to get this kid killed, or is he going to be cool? Could be cast Batgirl and Babs as Oracle. I could see it. Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I don't hate it. Yeah, you know what? I don't hate it, actually, because then you could do a Birds of Prey or something like that story in, maybe they wouldn't call it that, with her. I guess the only thing with Barbara is I kind of want to watch that happen. Not watch her get shot, but like, I think it would be really interesting to have a movie where they do transition from being someone who can walk to someone who can't. And so I wouldn't want her to be Oracle yet, but I think it's a cool idea. Thank you, Bonzi asked if I fan cast a new Batman before. I have not yet. I was waiting for this, honestly, to see what we get, like what the parameters are. That's why I haven't done my Superman video yet. Well, thank you, Edward. I agree. I think if you have Cass and Damien, you need to acknowledge they're similar. And that's why everything I like about Damien, I like more about Cassandra. Plus, I think it's just more fun that she's not his daughter and she's David Kane's daughter instead. Who did I pick for Damian Wayne? I picked the kid from whatchamacallit, from the Adam Project. I do think it's more realistic. And I said this very much in the video. The race doesn't match up, but I just could not find a kid that did. So I just kind of went like, this is what they'll probably do. I do think maybe the kid from this. See, even the problem is any kid that could play him now is probably too good, or not too good, too old. Like, if a kid right now could play Damian Wayne, by the time they start filming this movie that's coming out in 2 or 3 years, he's not going to be that age anymore. Yes, Walter Scobell, that's right. And that's like, if we started filming today, he would work for me. But I think it'll have to be like a full child. And I just don't know who that is. Juice asks, do I think the milestone characters like Static will ever be given a fair shake? Yeah, I wonder about that, because that's one of the things we didn't hear about today. We didn't hear about Static. We didn't hear about Val Zod. I guess they're just not happening, or they're not priorities. I think Static could be part of Phase 2 Streets Ahead. I think that makes sense. But yeah, do I think Nightwing will still be in a relationship with Starfire or Barbara Gordon? So I don't do a lot of shipping, but just me, I prefer Nightwing Barbara than Nightwing Starfire. So maybe that. I mean, someone said DC needs a Spidey, but that's what Blue Beetle is. So he will fill that void, if that works out correctly. But yeah, I don't know who the villains will be. I've read some of that run, but I don't know I don't remember exactly what stories it was and when the kind of, not like reset on the Damien character happened, but when they shifted gears and made him something that isn't terrible. Oh yeah, it is interesting they didn't mention Joker too. I think it's just because it's not part of this, and it really is its own thing. I like to leave Assassins in full force. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be good. But yeah, Joker is Elseworlds. So I guess we're not counting Elseworlds in these announcements, which is fine. So that leaves so many of these things open. But I do think Static should be in this universe. Like, I don't understand. It's got to be on the table that something they're planning. Oh, well, Supergirl, I mean, just make the book. The book's perfect. We talked about that a little bit, but it's like, I think there's a lot of books like that. I think most of the Tom King books, Mr. Miracle, Strange Adventures, Human Target, just film the book. Just take the pages, use them as, like, obviously make a couple of changes, but, and not to say that all the Tom King books are the best ones, but all of these, like, one-offs, 8 issues, 10 issues, those are so good. Will they recast Supergirl from the Flash movie? I think that's a real, like, wait and see. Does that movie do well? Do people like her? I don't know too much about the actor, but I don't see why not. Jake Gyllenhaal would be an interesting Batman. It'd be kind of cool. If you have Static, you also need Batman Beyond eventually. And that's true. And I don't see why Like, you'd have to set it in the future, and that would kind of preclude some things from happening, but I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, that would be so funny if they get Haley Steinfeld for Supergirl and they just do True Grit again. Yeah, that'd be great. Jensen Ackles as Batman. Like, it's gonna be hard to cast a Batman. Even a Superman, I think there's a little bit more wiggle room in terms of like your vision versus with Batman, everybody knows what they think Batman is. Like, I think Jensen Ackles would work. I think Mark Wahlberg is the only one that doesn't work really, but all these other people I think would be fine. But yeah, I just don't know what to expect there. It's tricky. Blonde Flash would be great. Yeah, what if Ezra? Because let's say they're keeping Ezra. Let's say all the things about any of like all the really bad accusations weren't true. Stealing wine and getting in a fight at a karaoke bar, that was true, but it's excusable. If they keep him, have him do the bleach blonde hair so they can be blonde. Evan Peters as Flash, that would be a good one. Yeah, I really don't know with a lot of this casting. I'm really gonna be working on it. Do I think Keaton would be Batman? He would be, but I think he's too old. And he's definitely not. I think this Batman they're getting is a franchise player that's gonna be around in a lot of these and like is, gonna be in their 40s max. Michael C. Hall is an interesting one. I actually like that. Theo James could be Batman. He's got too much of like a shit-eating grin. Just like, I feel like it's so hard. But okay. So those are the things we talked about. I do think like Nightwing, Static, Zatanna, street level stuff is next phase. I mean, that's like 3 years away though. Like it could go any different direction. This could all fail. Like, and we're back at zero. And I'm so curious. Yeah, exact question. Great one. Plastic Man. Yeah, you know what? That's probably what it will be, honestly, because a lot of the characters that got left out do fit into that box. Streets Ahead. That's what we'll call it. Okay. Any other questions? Because I am going to go do some other stuff. The reveal is that Ezra was done all along. Yeah, I mean, those jokes are fun, and they all write themselves. It's great. And like, it's one of those things, man, where like, there's stuff going on with the person and you never know anything. So I've tried to kind of keep it, just like, we'll see what happens. And I guarantee they wouldn't be doing this if the movie wasn't incredible. So we will see. What do I think about Creature Commandos lineup with Rick Flag Sr.? Oh, that would be cool. Phosphorus. Yeah, Rick Flag Sr. could be like a zombie. I wouldn't mind that. I know you don't want Mark Wahlberg, Man of Oil, but I mean, you said it, so maybe that will make it a thing. Anything they didn't announce that I was hoping for, it really was Zatanna. After reading that book, so I read the Paul Dini run. It's maybe 12, 15, 17 issues, something like that. And it's super fun, just light, enjoyable. She's got like I do think the stage magic Vegas show is like a really fun angle for like a procedural. Like I'm just watching the new show, Poker Face, and that reminds me of like how interesting that as an aesthetic can be. So I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool. They cast Henry Cavill as Apollo. I mean, that would be insane. If we got Zatanna, I don't know. There's a million different actors that people have fan casted. Basically any pretty white girl. And then even beyond that, it could be any like it's so her. I feel like so much of her is kind of she's not a blank slate, but she's not like Barry Allen, where her character is so specific. I think, yeah, exactly. And Alexander Daddario, sure, she's good. It could be her. Could be any of them. Yeah, Poker Face is great. So, okay. Let's see. Any other questions? Let's see. If they ever do JSA, do I think they should be in the past? Yes. I think they should do a flashback to JSA at some point. Kind of like that cartoon they just did. But we'll see. Black Adam 2. Yeah, surprised we didn't get any Black Adam stuff. It was so profitable. If I could write one of those projects myself, which would it be? Well, I can't write Superman because James Gunn is doing it. So honestly, it's like I like Batman, but I'm not the biggest Batman fan. It would have to be Booster Gold. Like everybody that's read comics has wanted to write that character, and there's a lot of different ways you could go with him. Everybody likes to write a character who's kind of an asshole. That's what Justin Hammer is, right? Speaking of Justin Hammer, you guys, I got to show you something. So cool. So, oh, thank God I didn't knock that over. I got this in the mail yesterday from a 3D printer named Violet Senpai, I believe, on Twitter. Sent me over this. Check this out. This is a 3D printed, I don't know if this is coming to focus, ex-wife. It is perfect. The size is great. I love it so much. It's part of why, because I have that, and the other thing I have, which I've worn once or twice in things, is this, which are the actual, not the ones that he wore, but like the actual brand of Justin Hammer glasses. So like my Justin Hammer cosplay is going to be insane. Who would be my Flanagan Constantine would be fun. Yeah, that would be great. And just dysfunctional. Yeah, that's true. I could also throw this at Whiplash and do nothing. Although, to be fair, it is the kind of missile it is, according to people that know this, needs to be fired from further away than Rhodey was firing it, and it should have worked. So, justice for Justin. I do think they should do a Teen Titans thing. That would be fun. I'm going to do Justin Hammer dance. I will do it if I do the cosplay. And can do the dance. Like I could do the dance. He's got some really good footwork though, Sam Rockwell. It's tough. Yeah. Who would be my JSA roster? I don't know. I mean, Lobo could be in the Superman thing to answer your question, Jerry. Lobo, you know what? Lobo will probably be in the Green Lantern thing, actually. If he's a cop, if this is a cop show, he's a bounty hunter. That's where you put him. JSA, I think it would be closer to the original. So like closer to the JSA that gets killed in the first episode of Stargirl. I want a really classic, like corny, oh my stars and garters, like that kind of thing. I don't know what that would be. But yeah. Someone has send me fan mail. Only in very specific circumstances if you are a 3D printer who can make an ex-wife missile, because it is the coolest thing. And the box says this on it. It's awesome. But yeah, they should avoid any obvious choices for Booster Gold. I agree. We'll see. Oh my God, James, I'm so pumped for Invincible Season 2. But okay, I have to run. I have to do some other stuff, some other work on other things you'll see eventually that I think are very fun. And yeah. Thank you guys all for coming on. Maybe I'll do more of these in the future, but this was like the day. We're waiting for so long. And thank you everybody who watched my Deadpool video and all the Nando Cut stuff that's been happening. There's a video on Nebula right now, and it is the Batman. The Batman kind of was unfair to the Riddler, not the character of the movie. And I think that video is very fun. And you can go to Nebula. So we realized Curiosity Stream is kind of confusing. So now if you just go to my Nebula page and just like sign up for a subscription there, that is the easiest way to do it now. And I would, if you're still the Curiosity Stream, then stick with that. But otherwise, definitely check that out because that video is cool. I like where I went with it, and also I like the one story that I'm like, yeah, it's going to be this. There's no way this is not what Matt Reeves wants to do. So yeah, thank you guys all so much. I will see you guys all very soon. I am very excited for Spider-Man 4. Yeah, take care, everybody. And now's the part